So please close your pull request. I kind of expect that, but I didn't know that they figured it out so quickly. So I certainly understand. As I mentioned, contact force is more like quality control. So it's not the end of the world right now. Okay, you can continue to develop your package, and once you have more functionality, become more mature, you can submit again. Okay, for now, it's just like an empty shell, so it doesn't really have a lot of functionality because they don't want to waste time reviewing your stuff. So please close it if you haven't done so. I think Jack was the only one that got approved last week, so congratulations. And but today later, I will also show you how to update the package in case in the future if you have your package accepted and you want to update. So also one thing you might want to do is to again close your pull request. Let me see if they're still here. I figured out some of those I can recognize, but some of you probably submitted last week. So if you haven't done so, don't do that. Okay. So for the lab 9, right, or lab 8, lab 9. Okay, you can ignore that. I'm not going to take points off if you don't submit. So make sure that you remove that. Let me see if there's anyone else here. I think 7. So Matthew, Bas, have you closed your pull request?
I did. I mean, the Doppler should close mine.
He closed yours.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you guys close by yourself, or you being closed by the maintainer?
I closed mine.
Okay. How about anyone else? Tracy?
Yeah, I closed it.
Okay. Chanwa? Okay. Good. So anyway, if you don't close it, probably if they recognize, they're going to close by your stuff. And so in the future, if you want to create a new package, again, when you have more stuff, you want to create a package, you can do it again. And I also remove the let me see here, show you what I did. So in the future, remove this line, so it's less likely to recognize that it's coming from the cookie cutter. And again, wait until it's maturized. Wait until you have more stuff. Right now, forget about that. But you still need to know about how to publish it in the future if you want to. At least you know how to use the contact force packages. And this is one thing that sometimes, again, they have quality control. So not everyone, every package can be accepted. But if you find other packages, so one thing you can try if you really want to do that is to find some popular packages that have been published on PyPI, but it's not on contact force. In that way, you can create a recipe to help people to publish that on contact force, but just not your package yet, because it's nobody's going to use your package because it doesn't really have functionality yet. Okay, so anyway, I'll talk about later how to update it, your package on contact force if needed. So for today, we're gonna continue with let me show you here, adding a toolbar. So basically you can add a grid of icons into the toolbox, and so that you can add some interactive functionality. We already talked about how you can design the GUI, so when people click or interact, select a drop-down list, you can do something. But how you can add a collection of icons or tools into a map so that it becomes more interactive. And I added a novel here called Toolbar. You're welcome to download this one to your computer, and then you can run it if you want. So I'm going to use today. I'm going to use in Jupyter Lab. As I mentioned, Visual Studio Code has weird behavior. It's like every Ipywidget is very wide, taking the whole width of the screen. So I'm going to use this one and contact activate. Also, just quickly want to mention, if you create a package on PyPI or on contact force, try to select a name that's professional. Okay, otherwise, if your name looks like fake, it's going to be to be fake. Okay, try to think about a name that's going to be better. Otherwise, it's not going to. It less likely is going to be accepted. Okay, and that's why people when look into it looks like the name looks weird. Then they look into more detail about the package and then figure out, oh, it's really fake. Okay, so at least have something that looks real. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about this one, Toolbar, and let me close here. So the whole example, you can take it. Excuse me. Take a look at the animation at the end. So this is essentially this notebook is about is to help you create the toolbar. So when you can click, it will show up the icons, and then we can click on icon, it will do something. So this is exactly what leaf map was created, right? So you have an icon, you click, and then you save a bunch of icons, and exactly the same thing. But certainly you will need to have more time to develop the functionality, but at least this gives you the framework. And when you click, it do something. But what you want to do, it's up to you. So you can make it really complicated, or you can make it really simple. For example, change base map, or you can also allow users to add raster, add vector without coding. So this notebook is going to give you all the components that you need for your package. Okay, so first let's import the packages, and the first whole block here is basically creating the icon where you can click. So let me just show you what it looks like. So it looks like this. So the first one here, we're going to set the widget width. So this one is basically when you have when people click, you want to expand, right? So when you click again, it's going to hide because it's using this one here called toggle button. Toggle button, when you click, the value is going to be true. When you unclick, you click again, it's unselected, so it becomes false, right? So the value here equal to false, that means by default it's not selected. And you can have a tooltip. Just when the user hover the mouse over the icon, it's going to show up the tooltip. And the icon, as I mentioned, the icon, you can find any icon from here. All you need just to figure out the name, what kind of the name you want to use. So you need to just remember this name, then you can use it for any icon you like. So I think there are a couple hundred of icons in here. Should be pretty sufficient for you to use. And then there's also the other one here called basically we have two buttons. Okay, the close button and also the toolbar button. So if I click, it doesn't show anything. Doesn't show anything yet, because by default, although we created these two buttons, right now the horizontal box only contains one. Okay, so the list only contains this range icon. Okay, so what we want to do is when user click this icon, it's going to expand, and when you click again, it's going to collapse. Okay, so by default right now it's only one, but we can add the event. So this is essentially how you make your widget interactive, right? So we have the toolbar button here and the toolbar button here. All the Ipywidget basically they use the same mechanism, except button. So if there's a button, then it's on click. Everything else is called observe. So basically you will observe this button. When it's clicked, you want to run this function. So every function pretty much the same. So you need to have the function name, and then you also need to have this. Usually it's just value. So when it's change value means when you click, it's true. When you unclick, click again, it becomes false, right? So what we are doing here is that, okay, for this button, we're going to design a function. When it's clicked here, the toolbar, the children are going to become this two. When it's false, you're going to become only one. So basically what we're telling you, when you click this button, you're going to expand, you're going to have two icons. When I click again, it's going to remove that, just become one. So if I run this one, take a look. So now if I click this one, see that? You can make it very flexible, so you can add as many icons as you want. What you actually control here is this one. So the toolbar.children. Every Ipywidget is a widget that can be removed, can be added, can be closed. So it's just like a building block. So you can choose to add stuff or remove stuff. Okay, so once you have this, then for every, basically you can think about every widget, you can design the function to associate it. Basically, you can instruct the program to do something when you click that button. So when I click this range icon, right, it's going to expand. But there's also a close icon here, right? Right now, it doesn't do anything yet because we haven't associated a function with this icon. So every icon needs to have something associated with in order to do something. Right now, this one, only this one is responding. This one is not, right? Also, this one, the button style is primary. Primary, that means it's like blue color. You can have warning, you can have info, so you have couple types that we talked about last time. And by default, it's going to be just gray color. So if you don't provide a style, it's just a gray color, right? Like this. So far, right? Nothing fancy, just two icons. So basically, think about the logic. If you need to design something, think about what it looks like first. And then you design, okay, when I click this one, or I interact with this one, I do something. I interact with this one, I do something. So there are basically two steps. Look at the overall outlook, the layout first. And next is just step by step, what you want to do with this one, what you want to do with this one. And then you just write a function, and then just this variable dot observe. And then let observe tied to that function. Basically, what you want to do when I click this one. Or when I double click, or when I click, there are different ways you can do that. Okay, so far we have this one, and did I execute it? This one I have not executed it. So close button, right? So again, this is the close button, dot observe, and then this is the function. This is basically when the value changes. So if the value changes, I'm going to close the toolbar. I'm going to close the toolbar button. I'm also going to close the toolbar. So basically, what does this really mean here? When we look at this one, we have three components, right? We have a range icon, we have a close icon, and we also have a horizontal box. So there are three widgets in between. So the horizontal box contains these two icons. So in total, there are three widgets. We can close all of them. When I close, basically execute this one. So think about here, right? The toolbar is basically the button, like this one, and also the horizontal box, right? So if I execute this one, take a look. Right now it display again. I close. Take a look at this, and when I click the close button, it's gone. Right? So everything you put on the map, every widget can do something. You need to define what you want to do. Okay, design the layout, create the function, and then put the function within the observe function of each icon. That's pretty much it. So once it is closed, you need to recreate it. Okay, so now I cannot really move forward, because if I execute this one, later on you won't be able to use it. So I need to click this one, or select here and run above selected cell. Now I have it again. Okay, so if the widget is closed, it's gone, it's disappeared, it's destroyed from the memory, it's no longer available. So you need to recreate it. Okay, questions? Right, so far it's only simple, right? We just create two icons and then put it in the horizontal box. If you don't have the horizontal box, it's going to be just show up. It's just going to be as two rows. So right now it's horizontal. So next, how do we add a toolbar grid, right? So that you can have multiple rows and multiple columns. So in that way, you have just like you have a widget that allows user to interact, but you can provide different options. So this one, we are going to use this one here called grid spec layout. So grid spec layout, you can specify how many rows, how many columns do you want. Also inside here, the grid gap. So basically when you have icons, you can have in between, you can have the whole space in between rows. And also the layout equal to width, the layout width equal to 65. This one, right now it has nothing, but take a look at this. Right, so right now we have 4 icons. So this everything here, you can be customizable. For example, I can have like 5 pixels in between, and let's see what it looks like. Right, become much wider. So depends on how what's the spacing you want between those grid. And so let me remove it to 0. So here we have 4 icons. Again, the icon, you can pick the name from anywhere here, right? So you can just pick the name you like, then you can just use the name directly in here. So what we're trying to do is, because we have 2 rows, 2 columns, and we're just loop through from by row and then by column, right? So first row, then we're going to create a button. So widget button description. We don't have a description here. The button style is primary, and then the icon equal to this one. So keep that in mind here, right? We have 4 icons. So when you are looping through this one, by default, it's first row and first column will be 0, 0, right? So the icon will be 0 plus 0 plus 0 is going to be 0. So basically what it's doing is, okay, grab the first icon, put it in there, and then first row, second column, second row, first column, second row, second column. So basically grab the icon. So in that way, it's organized like this way. So what we're trying to do here is that, okay, we create a placeholder of 4 icons, right? A grid of 2 rows by 2 columns, and then have 4 icons. I grab the first one, put in the first row, first column. Grab the second one, put in the first row, second column. Third one, first one. Make sense? So here you can customize it. If you don't like this icon, you're welcome to go on here. For example, I can say I like how about this one? The aerial chart, right? You can just grab the name. So I can come back to here. I can change this one, maybe the last one here, aerial chart. Okay, so see the last one has been changed. Welcome to pick any one you like. Let's find another one. How about maybe Bluetooth? Okay, so I can try maybe info Bluetooth. See, so it can be easy customized. So think about how many icons you want. Right now it's only 2 by 2. You can make 3 by 3, 3 by 4. It's up to you. Okay, I'm just showing you that you can have these 4 icons, and then once we have this, we can have the toolbar, the vertical box. Okay, so the toolbar button again, and then this one. So again, we have a new the toolbar is just this right now. This first this range icon. So then we define the observe function. What we want to do is that once it's clicked, I'm going to change the children to this one, the vertical box. So you're going to have the close button, the toolbar button, and then I'm going to have the second row. So you're going to have this grid. So take a look. 1, right? Make sense? So when I click, so by default it's only have what's 1 row, but right now we're going to add the grid icon into the second row. So because this is the horizontal box. The horizontal box is just for the first row, and the second one is the vertical box. So take a look at this one. So first row and then the grid. Okay, that's vertical, but you also have in each row you can also have a composite. So I'm going to have also horizontal, right? So that's why we have this icon. So now it responds to what we want. For now it doesn't do anything yet, those 4 icons, because you haven't designed function to interact with those yet. But you can if you want to. At least right now, this is what it looks like. So you can design something that's when you click, it expands. When you click again, it collapses. So in that way, it takes less space rather than put something permanently on the map. It's going to occupy a lot of space. Okay, questions? So once you have this one, then you can just add to the Ipywidget, just like what we did before. You will need the widget control, and then pass the widget, also the position. Then you can add the control to the map. So let's add this one. right? See, isn't it nice? You can remove this one, so I don't. What's the name? It's called the layers control, so we can disable this one if you don't need it. But alright, so now this one looks exactly like leaf map, right? You click, you expand, you do something, but we have these 4 icons. Right now it doesn't do anything yet. So next step is to how we associate this one, so that when you click on that, you can display something. Just like, for example, I click this one, it's going to show you a drop down list, and then I can select base map, for example, right? I can pop up a dialog, allow user to select file from their computer, and they can display the map. It's up to you what you want to do. But so next, let's add another one. So basically, you're going to respond when the user click on the toolbar. So we're going to use this one called output widget. As I mentioned, this one is very powerful. It can pretty much display anything. It can be text, it can be images, it can be video, it can be all kind of stuff. So what you want to do is to create, for example, this output widget. Similarly, we're going to add a widget control. So the widget control, we're going to add to the bottom right corner. And if you run this one, right now it doesn't do anything yet. So, and the next step is to design something to associate it with the toolbar icon. So when you click this one, it's going to do something. Okay, so this is the function. So to click with output, because we already add the output function to the map at the lower right corner. Right now, because there's nothing in there, it doesn't show up. But certainly, if you want, you can try it out. So I can add a new code block. I can just write here with output, and then just print here hello world. Okay, lower right corner, can you see that? If I execute again, it will not clear. It will continue to display print text to that. So take a look, right? Hello world again. So sometimes if you want to clear it, you can have this one. So they say, for example, when the user click the icon, you can clear the text. You can just print out that one. So usually what you do is output dot clear output. Okay, and see, now if you run this one, it will always just one line. So that's the output widget, and assume this is location where we want to show something when the user click on. Here we can design this function called toClick. Okay, so toClick means with output. If you want to show something on the output, you need to with output and then just indent within that. So I'm going to clear the output, and then I'm just going to write this one. You click b.icon button. So b basically means you design the function, and this function is going to associate it with whatever icon you click, and that icon has a name because earlier when we create this one here, right, every widget, the bottom widget has the icon, so we can certainly grab the information. So in that way, you know what the icon user click. Okay, so if a user click on this base map icon, you can actually figure out that what the user click, because every icon here have an attribute, and right now these are all the attributes, right? And these are all pretty much the same except this one. The icon, this one is different. Everything else is the same, right? It's just blue color, and then there's no description. The button style is primary. This is the only thing that you can indicate the differences between those icons. So what we want to figure out is when user click this one, I want to grab the information so that I know what you click. If we come back to this function here, b.icon, so the b basically is that widget, that icon. So we can grab the attribute just to show what it looks like. And then with this function, we can associate this function to every icon. You have to keep in mind, whatever you put on the map, you need to associate a function with each of those. In this case, because the function is the same, when user click this icon, you want to grab the icon, whatever the user click. It's basically the same action. So in this way, we can use the same function here. So for rows and columns, basically just looping through the icons, and then we'll just grab that icon. Then, as I said, this is a button. So the button, the function is called onClick. Everything else is called observe. Okay, so right now it's because it's a button, so we're going to onClick. So when the user click, we're going to call this function, and this function is going to pass in the icon itself to this function. That's why this function has this input parameter in here. It might look confusing, but this is what the Ipywidget functions, and you need to make sure that you understand whatever you design a function, you need to have. For button, it's like click, but for everything else is sometimes it's called change, but it doesn't really matter. It's just the convention. So if there's a button, when you design a function to associate with the button, it's just whatever function, parentheses, b, whatever. If there's something else, you will be design a function, correct parentheses, change. So basically, with that variable, you have a handle to that widget. Otherwise, you have no idea what the user click. That's the only one you can figure out. Okay, so I'm going to grab this one, and that's pretty much that. Now, if I come back to here again, look at the lower right corner here, right? If I click, see that? So basically, what the user click, now you have an idea what the user actually click. Okay, so if I click this one, I can do something. If you click on that, the other one, I can do something else, right? Although right now it's pretty much the same thing, but you can certainly create more stuff. So here, for example, this is the icon, right? Click the map icon. Let's say when a user click this map icon, I can also pop up a drop down list. And then with that drop down list, I can select the base map, right? This is essentially, I think, for lab 9, one of these things that you might want to do. So think about for a second, right? We already have this toolbar, we already have the two icons. Now I want to use it to click this one, and then it show up a drop down list on the map. How do I do that? Alright, I click leg, I do something. So first think about the layout and then design a function. So here, this is notebook, we already finished everything. It's already done. But right now, what it does is when I click this icon, it shows something at the bottom. But I don't want this one. I want to, when I click on the map icon, I want to show a drop down list with a selection of base maps. How do I do that? What kind of steps you need to do? JS link. Yeah, JS link probably doesn't work. JS link is more like for the attribute. So for the zoom level, it's fine because the map has a zoom attribute, and then you have a slider, you have an attribute. But for the drop down list, it's a bit more complicated because there is no like, the map doesn't have an attribute, for example, to associate with the base map. When you want to add a base map, you need a function. It's not an attribute. So JS link doesn't really work. But in here, think about it. When I want to click, I want to show something. Then you need to design that something first. If the drop down list, is it a slider or is it whatever, right? So here, if you want to drop down list, then we need to design a drop down list, and then we add the drop down list to the map, and then you can design a function to respond to the drop down list. Right now, it doesn't really do anything yet. So here, let's try something. Okay, let me click here. Let me remove this one. Okay, so assume that this is what. Probably I need to do something before the toolbar click. Let me add a couple more blocks in here. So the reason I want to add here because when I design something later, when this button is clicked, I want to invoke that one. So it needs to be before this one. Okay. So next, let's design a drop down list. So how do we actually do that? Oh, by the way, so everything I'm showing here is within this notebook. You have to pack this everything into a function. into your map. Okay, so what you need to do, for example, you can design a function within your map class. You can say add toolbar something as a function, and then pretty much just copy this code, put into your function. But your function need to have a self. Okay, so you don't use the doc map or something. You'll be yourself doc something, self doc add control, self doc something within a function, just like what we did before. How you add a toolbar, how you add a layout, how you do a full screen control. It's kind of similar. You have to figure it out. So at the end, users just need to just create a map, and then they automatically have this toolbar icon on their map. So next, let's talk about how we can actually add the drop-down list, right? So think about here, the drop-down list is going to be something that user can select. So first, let's just design what the drop-down list looks like. So how do we create a drop-down list?
Widgets.
Widget drop-down. So I can say maybe base map dot equal to widget dot drop-down. Okay. So in here, inside, you need to provide the options. So the first one here, for example, the options, and then you can design the layout. We also talk about the let me see here, we have any drop down list example here. Maybe, for example, how about this one, right? Pretty similar. This is what we did last time, so I'm just going to copy here, come back to this one, and then change the drop down to base map, because basically the drop down, you can think about the drop down list has a bunch of options. Whatever the user select is going to only to return just one value. So that value we're going to use as the name to add the base map. Okay, so here drop down list, and then options. Okay, so options, you can provide different options. I can provide, for example, open street map, and maybe hybrid settlement, and also maybe raw map, OAD map, something like this. Description, I can just say base map. Style, layout, this pretty much can change, so I'm going to just type this one. Take a look, right? Very nice. And then you can select from here, select from here. Right now it doesn't do anything yet, so think about this one. When the user select this, it needs to do something. It needs to actually add the base map. Okay, but the base map has the value, right? So if I select this one, base map, right? So if I select this one, if I change it, if I grab the value again, the value is going to change. So if you have that value, then you can easily add the base map to the map, right? So next, let's think about, we already have the widget right now in here. So the next step is how do we link this one to the button, right? So when I click this one, it's going to add that one to the map. Excuse me. So how do we do that? How do we associate this drop down list to this one? Where should it go? So for the code block, where should the code block go? So think about here, when you click, it do something, right? Where is that function? Yes?
Would it replace the print hello world portion?
Yes, kind of like this in here, right? So right now, basically, is that you click this button, you click this button. So what we're trying to do here, basically, is to tell that when the user click this map icon, I'm going to add this toolbar, add this one to the map. But right now, this is a widget, right? Next, you need to actually create a control so they can be added to map. So we have the widget. So the next step will be, for example, base map control equal to widget control, right? And then will be widget equal to base map, and then you can have the position equal to, I'm going to use top left, top right. Okay. So now we have this control. So when the user click this one, I'm going to add it. So what we need to do here is to do something within this function, because this one function handles what the user click, right? And as you already see, we can figure out what the user click because we already tied that one to the onClick function. So again, let me do it one more time here. Excuse me. So here, if I click this one, is it broken? Working? Okay. So click here, click here. So what we want to do is when user click this map icon, I'm going to show up the drop down list on the map, right? So here, this is where we want to figure out. If you scroll down to this function here, the B dot icon is the indication what the user select, right? So what we can do here is, right, you can continue here. If B dot icon equal to what? What's the name of the icon? If you scroll up here again, so the name is basically one of those, right? So what we want is the second one. You're welcome to design whatever you want, but right now you'll be, if they equal to map, then what else? Right, so this function handle all the actions. If the user click this map icon, what do we want to do? Alright, we just add this control onto the map because we already have the map in here. So what you need to do is m.add and then the base map control. So take a look. If I execute this one right now and come back to here, look at the map. If I click this one, doesn't do anything yet. Click this one. Oh, I need to associate again because this function, I forgot to execute this one. So we need to re-associate the function with this one. And now if we come back again, now it's work. Okay, so click this one. It's just showing the icon at the bottom. Click this one. Oops. Base map control is notified. Okay. Yeah, CTIL. So I need to change the name here. Run this again. And now click this one. Click this one. Right? Make sense? So now I have this on the map. Of course, if you're trying to run again, it's going to show up multiple times because the widget is like adding multiple times to the map. So you need to handle that. So if the widget is already on there, you don't do anything. Otherwise, you add a new widget. So if you want, you can actually improve that. Here, you can say if base map control not in m.controls, because everything on the map is somewhere within this attribute. So either it's a control or it's a layer. So if it is not in the control, I add that to the map. If it's already there, I don't do anything. Okay, so let me just restart the column and rerun everything so that it's clean. All right, so let's try it again. Now we have this one. We will click, it shows up. We will click, right? Now it doesn't solve the error, right? I can click as many times as I want. It doesn't, right? So here, I have the drop down list, but it doesn't do anything yet because we haven't designed a function to associate something with the drop down list. We only design something to associate with the button, right? So you need to continue to design what you want to do when the user select from the drop down list. Understand? So again, you need to design a function to associate that. So here we have this drop down list, so the base map. And so what you need to do is design function, for example, def. I can change the name called change base map. Okay, and then change. Just like what we did earlier, in here, you will need to have something like this. Observe function, just like this one here. Right? When the toolbar is clicked, so what we want to do is when the drop-down list is selected, then I'm going to add a base map to the map. Make sense? So when I select from drop-down list, I do something, I select the other one, and I do something. So what we want to do here, if we go back to this function, so if we change base map, I will say if change new, basically select a new value, and this is what you're going to associate. So we're going to add the base map because the base map comes from this change new. So the change new basically is the value. So this is the new value, and what we want to do is to m dot because for this for this package we already have the add base map function in the past, right? We already created it, and so what you need to do is actually to grab the value. So the change new this change new is actually the base map. So I can just grab this one. Or you don't have to, you can just add base map. You'll be the same. Okay, so what this is doing basically, when you select on the drop down list, because the base map can grab the value from the drop down list. So when you select something, I execute this one, I add the base map, right? Yeah, pretty much this is it. And then you need to associate this one with the widget. Okay, so you be base map dot observe. And again, you'll be observe this function, change base map, and then value, okay. Make sense? Right. We have the drop down list. So when the user select from the drop down list, whenever the drop down list change, I'm going to add a base map. Right. Think about here. Add base map and then base map. So this one again, and see if it works. Okay, so click here and then click this one. You see it shows up right now. Base map is not selected. I'm not sure if it works or not. Let's click this one. You see it's not coming up. Let me look at the function. Add base map. m.layers. Change. Yeah, this should do something. Let me double check. Observe base map. Control. Let me test it with output print base map. Want it. Okay, let me try again. Click here, select this one, and sorry. So that's why because I'm adding a base map, it's a drop down list. So what you need to do here is actually base map dot value because you are not adding another widget, you are adding a base map, you need to grab the value. So it should be here add base map dot value, because base map is a drop down list, is not a string. So when the user select, you want to grab the string. So let's run this one again, and hopefully this time it works. Okay, so here, run this one, click here, and probably need to restart the kernel. It might be. Base map dot value. Why is not? Where is base map dot? Interesting. Let me double check here. At hybrid. And let me see if I have that function. Add base map. Because I recall last time I already added, so base map GOS demo and Azure control tile layer. Oh, okay, yeah. Now row map should work. Satellite, because I don't have the hybrid there, because last time I didn't add all the options. So if this be one of these, it should work. So let me come back here. I think I have the row map, so the row map should work. See, because the hybrid was just, I didn't add the hybrid map in the base map option, so that's why it doesn't work. So here I can change this one OpenStreetMap and this one to satellite. Okay, so now if I run all cells, it should work now. Okay, so here, click, and now if I have satellite, you see, works. Row map. Alright, isn't it nice? So now you can have all kind of interactive widget onto the map. Of course, after this one is added, you have no way of closing it. Okay, so what you need to do is to design this drop down list to have a close button to the right, so when user can close this one, otherwise it's going to show there to be there on forever. So what you want to do is just to follow how we design this one, right? So when I close it, you can have another button here, close button, right? Otherwise this one is, it cannot be removed. So everything you add to the map, make sure that you have some kind of mechanism to close it or to make it disappear, otherwise it's going to show up. Okay, so that's pretty much about how you can add the, yes?
So is the base map dot value that work?
Yes. So the base map dot value, because the base map itself is a widget. Okay, so when you're trying to add a base map, it needs to be the string. So because it's a widget, you can grab the value. So base map dot value, pretty much all the Ipywidgets have the value attributes. The value basically, whatever the user select, you grab the value and then can pass it into the program to do further analysis. Okay, questions? So this is pretty much you do the debugging, and once you figure things out, then later on here, within your map class, you can start adding functions and then just grab the code from here, do some simple modification. You should be able to make it work. And then so the user, when the user create a map, you can by default add the toolbar. So here I can, for example, I can say what's that? So I can define a function called def add toolbar, okay? And again, because it's a map class, you need to have the doc self, right? And then within here, you just grab whatever you have in here on the map, and then just copy paste, but make sure you change the m to self, because right now it's not m anymore. M is an object that you just created. Self means that this whatever the user create is going to that instance. So here, let me just quickly, for example, show you. We already have, I think, all of this. So what I want, just copy this one, come back to here, paste. You need to indent it, okay? So now you have this, or you need to import the Ipywidget. So usually you want to go to the beginning, and then just import Ipywidget. Ipywidget is widget. Okay. So here, now we have the widget, and you can continue to open it. So whatever you copy from the notebook, make sure you don't copy this one, because you're displaying the widget. You want to display on the map, so you don't actually have to display that. You just need to copy this line, come back to here, and then this. Yeah, everything pretty much you can just copy paste. It should work, or you can just copy that to a document, and then you can just paste it here, and this. And and this one. If you're really good at it, you can just directly write the code within Visual Studio Code. But Visual Studio Code, you cannot really show the result, so you will still have to test it in Jupyter Notebook. And so we have this one now. Last couple more. Again, don't copy the the grid, because you don't need to display it. Okay, come back to here again. Please. Are we done almost? Ooh. And this one. Okay, I'm just going to add this portion. So for other stuff, you can do it later. So, and here right now we have the widget control. So the last step for the widget control, you need to have Ipywidget, Ipyleaflet widget control. So essentially, what we do here is to create all the widget, and the last step is to add the widget to the map. All right. Compared to what we did earlier, right? We create a map and then we use the m.add control and then passing this one in. So if you're trying to reorganize, put it into a function, what you need to do here, you'll be save.add control, something like that, rather than m.add control, or you can just add, you'll be the same. So pretty much that's it. For the base map stuff, you can continue to copy paste, you'll be similar like this. But at least for this function, it should be when the user call the add base map function, you will add that one to the map. Okay, so let me Control S, and we can try it out, see if it works, right? So we create a widget and then just have everything, have the toolbar, and then add it to the map. So now let's create maybe a new notebook just to test it out. Okay, we need to maybe restart the kernel. So here you'll be import GOS demo. Okay, then we can just create a map, m equal to GOS demo dot map, and then map. Right, so by default right now we don't have anything over there yet, right? So next step is to call the function that we just created, right? We just m dot add toolbar, right? And let's see if it works. Run. See? So now the user don't have to write like many lines. We already wrote those lines, and then so the user just need to just code one line of code, and it's come up in here, perfect, right? If you want to have more flexibility, you can have some option allow the user, when the user call the function, for example, I want this icon to be on the top right, top left, bottom right, right? You can customize it. So here I can come back to this one, and so this is pretty much, it's hard coded, but we can design the function here. We can say come back to the add toolbar function here, self, and then we can put like position equal to, by default it's top right, but we can customize it, right? So once you provide this one, then later here you just use the position, whatever position that the user provide, right? And pretty much that's it. So now if I come back to here, restart the kernel, and then create a map again. So this time I'm going to add the toolbar to maybe to the top left, right? On the top left we all have these three icons, but I can add the toolbar and then position equal to top left. See that? Now it's showing up here. When I click, it's coming up. For now, it doesn't do anything yet. As I said, you need to copy paste and all the code just like what I did earlier. So in that way, it's everything is linked together. For now, it's just showing you this one. So if I close it, click this button, it's gone. Okay. So the entire widget it's gone. It's closed. It's disappeared. But you can run this one again to add it back, right? So this is pretty much that's it. And so if you look at import leaf map and m equal to leaf map dot map, and see, exactly the same. The only thing is that I have more icons, and I also have something else in here so that you can change the layer opacity. You can turn it on and off. This is a lot more complicated. I don't expect you to do that for your final project, but at least you can see how this was constructed, right? You have the foundation, you have the workflow. Next, you just need to spend time, like what do you want for your package? When the user click this one, what do you want to do, right? That's the majority of the time you're going to spend is to think about the functionality. And the design, you're welcome to change it. You can add more icons. You can add, for example, by default, add all those stuff. It's up to you what you want to do. So for this demo package, right now it's pretty basic. I don't really have a whole lot of stuff, but every widget is something can be customized. Right? You can close it, you can open it, you can do whatever you want. Okay, so this is give you some of the foundation for the lab 9 if you haven't started yet, right? So lab 9 only have 2 tasks. The contact force is gone, right? So now you only have 1 task. And I pretty much already show you all the steps you need to do. You just need to refine it and then put it into that. I already pretty help you 80-90% of the work. Okay, so if you still having difficulty, let me know. I'll be able to help you out. Questions? Again, just look at leaf map, how some of the functionality. Just look at that and then see if you can come up some idea, right? Right now, this is the basement, right? This is exactly would be nice that you have a close button that the user when it close, right? So it doesn't show up there all the times, but if I want it, I can, right? I click here, I show the base map, right? Compared to what I just hard coded, only have 2 to 3. Now I have a bunch of those, right? I have all kind of base map, okay? And then you can just select right? There are tons of base map available. So this one is from the XYZ services. So basically the build URL, I showed you last time how to build that, but you're welcome to explore if you want. And so for example here, right? And once I'm done, I'm just close it. It's gone. So that's pretty much about how you add the interactive functionality. And I think we are done with the Ipywidget stuff and Ipyleaflet. So you're welcome to explore more. So look at what kind of list. So you can have, for example, you can have some widget for selecting dates, color, all kind of stuff. So let me show you maybe this one here. And what else? Maybe how about this? So if I click this one, sometimes it might be downloading the data, so it might take some time to show that. But look at this. Right. So I have this one, I have this. I can hide, I can close. You see here, right? I can close button. So everything looks pretty much familiar, right? It's one of the components, and you can have a drop-down list. You can have all kind of data set available, and you can type. You can select the data set. Let me restart it, just to show you how under the hood you can do a lot of things. Okay, so here I can maybe select, for example, some of the open area map, right? So I can maybe somewhere here, and then you can set a start date and end date, right? You can specify some date you want. If you don't, you just search. And you see, so this is basically just searching the open area map. So some of the drone map that people created, and it's uploaded. You see here, and when you click, I can show you all the basic information about the imagery. It might be a bit difficult to see, but you're welcome to explore, see some of those available. It's not showing up in here, but let me close it. And you can also search any select imagery. For example, Sentinel-2, and I can just select from the map widget. So under the hood is going to search, and it's going to return a bunch of images. Then from here I can just search, and you can display whatever images are available. So this is searching data from the cloud, and then under the hood you just displaying the imagery in here. Right, this one has a lot of cloud, so it doesn't really it doesn't look good. But essentially, this functionality can source all kind of data catalog from the cloud, from AWS, from Microsoft, from Google's engine, and then just load the data, and then in that way you don't have to download any data set. Right? It's all free. It's just like watching movies, right? Netflix. I don't have to source data set, and then you be, yes.
Is this all in your map class?
Yes, everything is within the map class, so you can look at the source code, see how it was implemented. For example, I can select, let's say I'm interested in Microsoft printed computer. It has petabyte data, and then in here it's going to show you, for example, you have all the data available from the catalog, and then I can just select. How about if I want some DM? Let's say I want some the 30-meter global DM, and then you can start the day. But you can simply, for example, here let's say in the US, okay. It's a bit slow. Let me close this one. Just restart. Okay. So how about this? They say okay in Knoxville, right? And say I'm interested in the DM, for example, in the small kids, right? I can simply draw a rectangle here, and then you can start searching the data set. So here I'm going to use the data from Microsoft printed computer, but you can source data set from pretty much anywhere. So click this one, and I'm going to use plain computer. Then I'm going to use the global DM, okay, and then from here I'm just going to click search. It's going to search the database, and it's going to show you, okay, there are 3 DM types covering this area they're interested in, and here you can just select from the drop down list in here, right? And the next step, just display, and let's see what happened. See, it's pulling the data, and right now it's just a simple black and white, but you're welcome to choose a palette, right? And so for this one, I'm going to choose the terrain, display it again. See? And see how powerful it is. I can choose any one, okay, select the next one, display, and I can turn if you want, you can turn this footprint off if you want, right? So think about, just like you're watching a movie, you go online, you search, and then you display. I don't really need to download the dataset. This is like many megabyte, but I don't have to download it, and then I can just simply visualize the data. I can turn off the footprint, and I can remove this one, clear all, right? So now if you zoom in, right, although this is sort of tile by tile, you see the it's not continuous because the color, the color is different. So the minimum and the maximum is different. So, but you can standardize if you want. And we zoom in. You can even load like high resolution, for example, 1 meter DM, 10 meter DM. So most of the data loads are in the cloud. So if they use some kind of protocol, you can actually do that. You can select, for example, different band. You can have different band combination. You can have RGB. You can have just one band. You can also select by date, select by area. There's so much thing you can do, right? Just give you some examples how you can pull data from the internet, and then you can do all kind of analysis without having to download anything. Okay, questions? Once I'm done, excuse me. Once I'm done, we just close it, and then you have the data to play with. You can customize to whatever way you want. Okay, so that's pretty much about adding interactive widget. And so on Thursday, we are going to talk about how to add some so-called testing, so that you can test your package, make sure that it works without having to manually test it. So we can write some function to automate tests that make sure everything works fine. So we can ask GitHub to help us test it. Okay, right now we're basically just pushing all the stuff to GitHub, and then runs all the GitHub actions. But there are more things to it. We can within there, you can within a package. So let me quickly show you here. There is a folder called test. We haven't really done anything yet. Right now it's pretty much empty. But these are basically the function you can design to ask the program to test it. So if you design a function, I can have a testing function to test that function. So in that way, I don't have to open the notebook. I don't have to test it, because if the function fails, I know that something is wrong. Then we can fix it. So basically, everything can be automated. That's what we're going to cover on Thursday. And then next week, we're going to talk about how you can design interactive web apps. So how do you actually have something that user can play with without having to install packages, without having to install packages on the computer. So you can just go to the web, and then they can do some cool stuff. So one app I can show you here is the, what's the name? Streamlit. So this will be something that you can design. Behind the scene, it's going to use, is it not working? It's going to use the package that you develop. Right? It's the map, but you can have all kind of interactive components. You can have text, you can have menu, you can have something like this. So here, right? This one right now should be pretty familiar, right? It's just behind the scene is your map class. But you can design drop down list, you can design all kind of stuff, and then allow user to select and something like this. Of course, this one is rather complicated, but next we will talk about how you can build something like a simple web app like this. That allow user to play with your data, right? You can have 2D. Right now, because the screen size is too small, but you can create all kind of web applications that allow user to play with the data. For example, I can even not sure if it still works or not. With 3D, for example, you can visualize the data. There are just so many open source library available there, right? I can do something like this. Okay. So if you really want to create some cool stuff, there are lots of options available, and all you need just a browser. You do some coding, and then you just build the app, and then just release it. Anyone around the globe will be able to actually use your stuff and to explore your data or explore changes. And there's just so many things. For example, global building footprint. Some of those using Google's engine. We haven't covered Google's engine in this class yet, but if you already know Google's engine perfect, you can also use Gmap to do that. Again, we'll cover this next week. So just want you to see if there's anything you want to do for your final project. You can design something like this, or you can just design a package, have some functionality. The bottom line is that you need to have a package functioning, have some documentation, have some notebooks, have some examples. And then if you really want to make it accessible, then you can design the app like this. Behind the scene, use your package to demonstrate, okay, so the functionality, but you can use all kind of stuff. Yes?
So that's built off of your package?
Yes, this is built on top of LeafMap and Gmap, right? So the map component, but you can, in this class, we have all the widgets, right? You can add the widget. Those widgets won't work on the browser. So you need to use another package. This is called Streamlit or Gradio. So there are other packages available that you can, basically whatever I select from here is going to interact and then display with the map. So Ipywidgets won't work on this. So we have other mechanism to make it work. You are welcome to try it out, see if it works or not. Sometimes when too many people, sometimes it will like buffering. But anyway, that's all for today, and I will see you on Thursday.